Everybody else sort of was incidental, and occasionally used to send me for dummies. Well, you don't send your own teammates for dummies, you send opposition, and I used to buy these, you know, I used to run into position to get the ball, and it wouldn't come. And I used to be fuming. I come off the field often saying, "The greedy little so-and-so," you know. And then one day I thought to myself, I'm going to have the luxury. If we're winning 3 or 4 with a couple of minutes to go, one match, I'm going to say to myself, "Oh, to hell, George, you know, I'm not buying it anymore." And I've got me back to the Stretford end, on the around about the 18-yard box, and this will just sort of give you an idea, and it sort of puts it all in a capsule, really. And little George is on the right-hand side of the field, and I've got me back to the goal, and it's a picture I'll always have of him, with the ball apparently tied to his shoes. He didn't seem to look, you know, he actually knew where it was, he didn't have to look. And a defender trying to kick him. And I forget what it was, I think it was against Nottingham Forest or something like that. And I've got me back to the goals, and I see George and the little full-backs after him. And I'm saying, "Now stay here, don't bite." And I follow him, and he goes all the way across the field to the touchline, and then he comes back again with the full-back still chasing him. And he's coming past me, and he's just coming in towards goals. And I couldn't keep it in, you know, and I thought, "George, you greedy little..." What a fantastic goal, George.
When I came in 1963, the great thing about the club seemed to be this undying wish to win the European Cup. You know, and that was the aim, I think, all the time I was here.
We always said that, "Oh, we must win the European Cup," because that's what the lads died trying to achieve. And I don't think that we'd ever be satisfied until that happened.
Bobby Charlton and Coluna exchanged Manchester United and Benfica pennants. The moment of truth in the battle for mastery of European soccer had arrived. United, playing in blue, kicked off. United launched directly into attack. Bobby Charlton took the ball into Benfica territory. George Best fell foul of the first of a series of savage tackles which marred the first half. Best again with the ball. He seemed to be a target for the stop-them-at-any-cost Benfica defence, but Italian referee Lobello let that one go. Benfica had the advantage, but met a stonewall United rearguard. It was near the end of an unglamorous first half. No score by either side. With the eyes of the world on both teams and the hopes of every Briton behind United, the second half got underway. The Busby boys seemed fired with a new enthusiasm and stormed into the attack. United's football was full of fire. Enrique had to concede a corner to keep that one out. George Best was in terrific form, but so was Enrique. United were proving the better side. Hard-working Best put the ball out to the left, where Sadler had been playing like a demon. The return centre was a beauty. Charlton headed it home. The match was by no means won. Benfica pulled off a beauty through Grassa. One all and time running out. Stepney was a wonder goalkeeper to stop that rocket from the big cannon boot of Eusebio, and the great Portuguese star sportingly acknowledged it. But that wasn't it. 90 minutes up and still deadlock. The teams were weary, but the fans weren't. And so on into the first half of extra time. And what a 15 minutes it was. Stepney collected and fed his forwards. Waiting to receive was Mighty Best. He simply walked the ball into the net. What a goal! United in the lead. And that wasn't all. The Busby Babes were raring to go. They hammered Benfica. Watch this fantastic goal. oh my, how they cheered Kid, the birthday boy, for that super header. Even Stepney joined in. The Benfica fire had nearly been extinguished. But where United finished, not on your life. Bobby Charlton made it 4-1. Manchester United had well and truly done it. They were supreme soccer champions of Europe. At last, Matt Busby, the maestro of Manchester United, had groomed a team great enough to beat Europe's best. He was king of soccer. His wonderful 11 men were all princes. How they cheered as Bobby Charlton led his men up to receive the handsome outsized trophy. Mr. Wiebacker, president of the European Union of Football Associations, handed it over. This victory didn't belong only to Manchester United supporters. This was a win for Great Britain. What a match, what a team. Charlton, Stepney, Brennan, Dunn, Creran, Fuchs, Styles, Best, Kidd, Sadler and Aston. And pride of place, Busby.
The European Cup was the pinnacle of Matt Busby's achievement. But a year later, he decided to retire.
Jimmy Murphy and I had been there for something year 45, 46, and it was a long time.
I felt that a lot of players, probably myself included, were just about coming to the end of our careers. You know, I'm thinking in terms of players like Tony Dunn, for example, you know, Shea Brennan, Bill Foulkes. And there was obviously going to be a transitional period, and we were going to struggle a wee bit. That coincided with a lot of managerial changes at the club.
We appointed, appointed Wilf McGuinness, and I say he did quite well considering.
I was only 31 when I got the job, but I could have done with a bit more experience under Sir Matt, if you like, as maybe first team coach with Sir Matt still manager.
There were a lot of very senior, established players, big names in the team that Wilf was suddenly asked to take charge of.
I don't think he really knew how to talk, because of personal friends, you know, and he didn't know how to talk to me as a manager, and I had to sort of switch off and think, well, is that Wilf talking, or is that the manager talking, you know?
If I looked then as I look now, you know, bald or something, they might have thought, oh, he must know something. But I looked pretty young as well, I think, at that time.
I think we went to 3 semi-finals, two League Cup semi-finals and a FA Cup semi-final. So his record was there, but he also had to deal with so many other things.
He had the confidence in me at the time to pick me, and that was something. You know, if it didn't work out, well, it's water under the bridge. You know.
So Matt is essentially a humble man, and I think he underestimated his own importance. I think he felt that when he decided to step back, that there would be no problem, somebody would be able to take over, but he underestimated his own importance and the father figure and the stature of himself. So he made it difficult for his successor, unintentionally.
Very difficult situation. He came as a boy and left as an old man. Wilf McGuinness.
Wilf McGuinness left at the end of 1970 to be replaced for the remainder of the season by Matt Busby. Frank O'Farrell was appointed midway into 1971, and his first season started well.
You could just sense that Frank coming on the pitch of a training session in the morning and saying to himself, we're 5 points in front of every other team in the league. Nobody wanted this job. Revy had turned it down, I think. Steen had turned it down. I must be the luckiest man alive.
The only problem again was that somebody was stepping in and Sir Matt was still within the club. And the man still had to come and take over from Sir Matt because the same players were still there.
He seemed to me to have done a good job at Leicester. He came really, not any of us really knowing him. And I think he left really maybe the same way.
I think he was a bit unlucky too, in the respect that he came in, they were expecting miracles, and he wanted time, but it didn't work out that way. And
I was Scottish team manager, and I went to see Crystal Palace and Manchester United at Selhurst Park, and United lost 5-0. It could have been 20-0. And I counted 4 or 5 players that day from the outside weren't trying the leg, were cheating, and it was a disaster. And I was approached that day after the game to be manager of Manchester United.
A colourful man, Tommy Docherty, a man who was going to pick the club up and shake it and wasn't afraid of the Sir Matt Busby legend, and of course that's exactly what the Doc did.
I think I might have been brought in to do a specific job. It had to be a sort of clearing out job to do, so to speak.
I don't dislike him as a man. I just think he was a bit foolish in getting rid of me.
But within a few months, I got a free transfer, which at the time was probably the blackest day of my life at that time.
I said to Tommy, I think at the end of the season I'm going to call it a day, you know, so you can make your appropriate plans for replacements. And he said, well, if you obviously thought about it, and I went.
He made my job particularly very, very easy when he retired, because how could I as a manager one day say, Bobby, infer that he was over the hill? I mean, I would have got murdered.
Tommy Docherty arrived too late to stop United sliding into the second division, but somewhat to his surprise, they shot straight back out again.
While we were at a low ebb and went into the second division, eventually he resurrected the team, and he did a very good job.
We gave the public what they wanted, entertainment, and they surprised me. They stuck to it a lot better than I thought they might have done, and week in, week out, winning and losing, we produced great football.
Docherty's promising career with United came to an abrupt end when he announced his affair with the wife of the club's physiotherapist.
The thing that annoyed me was that I was told that I was definitely staying at the club. That was a private matter. It was nothing to do with the club. And but it was difficult. I accept it was very difficult for the club.
Dave Sexton had been approached without success at the time of McGuinness's departure. This time he accepted.
Dave Sexton had done a very good job at Chelsea at that particular, around about that time, and we felt that this was a man that would be the ideal one for us.
A lovely man, a nice man, quiet, introverted, complete opposite of Tommy Docherty. And of course, at least he gave the club their dignity back again, because they were in some disarray with all the scandal that the Doc created with his matrimonial excursion.
It was the FA coaching system, and it had to be, the ball had to be played from A to B to C, and the ball go in the net, which our players who played under Tommy Docherty couldn't understand.
Dave Sexton followed me, who's, I'm told, is a nice fella and a very quiet fella. And I think, you know, they got what they wanted. They got, you know, a very quiet fella, and he did nothing. He drove the supporters mad with the brand of football that they played.
Something had turned sour. I don't know what the reason was, but it just didn't work out, David.
He was a bit unlucky, I felt, to be sacked at the end of the day, because he'd finished his 4th year with 7 successive wins, and football is all about how you were on your last game. But at the same time, I admire the board for taking the decision they did. They felt the football was not entertaining enough.
The next man to be given the job was Ron Atkinson. Tough and outspoken, he was in complete contrast to his predecessor. Once more, the fans, the players, shareholders and directors looked to him for an end to the changes and uncertainties and a return to the glory of the years of the past.
We like to think we're building on what's happened in the past, but it's an impossible act to follow. How can you follow people like Pat Guerrero, Georgie Best, Dennis Law and Bobby Charlton? You couldn't pick players from the world to follow them. We do our best, and I know we frustrate a few people, but it's some act to finish with, and I'm sure we can do it with time.